Now, on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app, O'Connor and Company.
Good morning, it's 6:07, and it's O'Connor and Company. Thanks for letting us start your day the right way here. With all the news you need to know, coming up at 6:35, Tommy Schultz, CEO of American Federation for Children, and a new scholarship program you're going to want to know about for your kids. It's 7:05, Dr. Kurt Michelli with Do No Harm. We're going to talk about some stuff going on with nurses in Virginia, including a viral video of one nurse who wants to poison ICE agents.
Oh, goodness.
What's going on with nurses? What's
going on with people, Larry? What is going on with people?
7:35, Nathan Brinkman from Education Reform talk about School Choice Week this week. 8:05, Brad Thor's got a new book, which is weird because I'm used to reading his book under a palm tree on the beach in July. And then maybe that's where I need to go. Oh, that sounds really good. Although Florida's about to get an Arctic blast. They're going to get sub-freezing temperatures in Tampa. So, yeah.
Oh, boy. There go the oranges.
They're finally going to live up to that, the Stanley Cup. 8:35, Steve Moore will join us, our favorite economist, talk about who Trump is going to pick today as his Fed chair. That's all coming up. It's Larry O'Connor with Patrice Onwuka. Patrice, can you confirm nor deny that you will be the next Fed chair?
I can deny I will not be the next Fed chair. I have not been approached. I have not been interviewed. And honestly, I don't want the job. That's a lot of pressure.
That's fair. What? Like this isn't pressure?
This is a lot of pressure, but this is different pressure.
Different kind of pressure, yes.
Yes.
So we've been doing our due diligence here to let you know all of the garbage that Democrats are proposing and putting up for debate and votes. They have control of the House of Delegates and the Senate and the governor's seat in Richmond, and so they can pretty much do whatever they want. And apparently one of the things they want is to tax something that isn't even real. It is literally a fantasy. It's in the name, fantasy. They want to tax fantasy sports.
That sounds ridiculous.
It does. If you're into fantasy, I've been playing fantasy football for over 20 years. And the same apps that people use for sports betting in those states that do allow betting on sports, which Virginia does not count themselves among, often enter into contests on fantasy sports through those apps. This is not betting on the game per se. What you do is you assemble a pretend football team of players from across the league, and there are certain rules that you have to stay within, and then you can put your team together, and then based on their performance on that week's games, you get points. And if you get a certain number of points, if you defeat other people, if you rank high, if you enter a contest that costs an entry fee, you could win. But it's a game of chance. So Virginia, you could call it gambling, but it's not gambling on football per se. Okay. It's different. It doesn't matter. Virginia wants to tax it. Virginia, they won't go to the trouble of actually allowing betting on sports like Maryland allows and D.C. allows and so many other states allow. It's like, oh, no, we don't want to get our hands dirty with that sort of thing. But they do like the money being generated by the fantasy sports industry, and so now they want to bet that. They want to tax that. And then they claim that the money that they tax from it is going to be used to support anti-gambling efforts. And,
come on.
And therapies
I'm sure it's
for
go in the
people who
general
are
fund
addicted
and be
to
used for
gambling.
whatever.
Exactly.
Come on.
Of course.
Who are they fooling?
It's outrageous. They're not fooling anybody. The answer is they're not fooling anybody. But it just add this to the list of things where if Virginia Democrats look at it and there's money to be made, they're going to tax it because they want a little piece of the action. This thing is going great. Government is not involved really to any extent. People are making money. People are having fun. People are happy. You don't hear about people betting their house on fantasy sports and fantasy teams. No one is being destroyed by this. And here come the Democrats, and they claim, oh, well, this is for the greater good. It's really to help you. It's like taxing cigarettes so that we can save you from smoking cigarettes. No, that's not. The reason they tax anything is because they want a piece of the action, and that's all this is.
Well, so I'm doing some research here, Larry, and it does
I
look
always
like
get into
Virginia,
trouble when you research things.
It does look like Virginia's proposal is not the only proposal. Arkansas imposes an 8% privilege tax on fantasy sports operators' revenue. So that's really on the fantasy sports operator. But this looks like
but then they pass that on to the consumer.
And Arizona has about a 5% fantasy sport tax on operators too. So Illinois and Virginia are both considering this proposal. Oh, 2 blue states. That's not surprising.
Of course.
Now, from what I understand, H&R Block is also telling me that you should be reporting any of your earnings on your federal taxes, but
course.
not necessarily state. So
nothing new there. Well, some states you have to, but yeah, there's nothing new there. If you make a good amount of money, and again, I don't think anybody's getting rich on playing fantasy sports.
I can't imagine, but you might win a little bit of a payday,
jackpot
a little
or something,
jackpot.
I suppose.
But I do think, Larry, your point is that this is going to be something that not just Virginia, but other blue states take and run with. So this is a new tax revenue pretty much on the backs of regular guys like you.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And it's just typical that this is what Virginia Democrats want to do. They see money flowing, and just like the mob, nice little business you got going here. Where you wet my whistle?
You want a piece of it?
How do I wet my beak on this? Then they're also doing this. They're pushing new bias training for nurses in Virginia. This is one of the reasons why we're going to talk to Dr. Kurt Michelli at 7:05 from Do No Harm. Let me get into this a little bit. They have 2 bills that would mandate unconscious racial bias training for nurses if they want to renew their license. And it would mandate a narrative about the January 6th thing in public schools. Now, that's not the nurses thing. This person who's analyzed these things has put it out there and conjoined the two. But it is thought police stuff.
Yeah.
You're not gonna be able to register as a nurse unless you sit through this training and you answer questions that admit your racial bias, admit that white people are inherently bad. What does that got to do with being a nurse? Is there some suggestion that nurses are acting in a racist way in how they treat patients?
There is. And I don't know if I believe the studies or at least the narrative that somehow Black patients, especially Black women, are not believed when it comes to their level of pain and the threshold of what the issues they're dealing with, and it's related to Black female mortality, particularly after post-birth. So after women have babies, I don't know how much of that is about bias in the medical professionals as much as it is a lot of other complicating factors. Maybe there's something in there, but I think that the training that these professionals need is to treat every single person, whether you're an ICE agent, a Trump supporter with a MAGA hat, or a Black woman, with the same level of care and professionalism, right? That, to me, that should be the training. That seems
logical. That's sort of Martin Luther King's vision, isn't it? His dream. Let me ask you something. Currently, if you are a patient of a doctor or a nurse and you have been discriminated against and given shoddy care or given some sort of misdiagnosis or treated shabbily by a nurse or a doctor, do you have legal recourse against the hospital? Of course you do. That's already built into the cake, right? So if there's already legal recourse for any woman of color who believes that she has been discriminated against by a nurse or a doctor, and they're already able to take action, why do we need to have this bias training for nurses about their unconscious racial bias? By the way, the funny thing about unconscious racial bias, prove it.
Yeah.
Prove it.
Don't we all have biases in some way?
I would love for somebody to prove to me how I have an unconscious racial bias and explain how you're going to prove it. But it doesn't matter because Democrats are now forcing nurses to have to get this training. We'll speak with the Chief Medical Officer of Do No Harm coming up at 7:05.
WMAL, making sense of the news. Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios. Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
6:17 now. Speaking of taxes, President Trump has now officially sued the Internal Revenue Service for $10 billion. And I think, wait a second, doesn't the IRS work for him? Aren't they in the executive branch? Well, yes, they do. But they also have to adhere to certain rules, regulations, and protocols with regard to the president or the former president, et cetera. Yeah. And you may remember that the IRS, someone at the IRS, allowed for back IRS returns by President Trump to be leaked. They were leaked. And he has now decided that he's going to sue the IRS. And the IRS has already acknowledged this. In 2024, they apologized to Trump and other victims of the leak, including hedge fund billionaire Ken Griffin, basically someone at the IRS, leaked to the New York Times Trump's tax returns for 15 years.
Yeah.
And
the guy's name was Charles Littlejohn, and he was an IRS contractor working for Booz Allen Hamilton. So the IRS had oversight over their contractors, and this guy just apparently, from reporting, tried his best to get that job as a contractor with the intention of releasing Trump's tax returns.
Yeah. And by the way, he's suing because according to the lawsuit, this $10 billion Trump is suing the IRS for. And one suspects there will be a settlement here. But let's see. Yeah. He says the leak caused reputational and financial harm, public embarrassment, unfairly tarnished their business reputations, portrayed them in a false light, and negatively affected President Trump and his business. And, people might defend that and say, well, how did it affect him negatively? He literally won the election for the president of the United States. But you can't measure it by that. You have to measure it, as he said, about business opportunities. And I have no doubt they're going to be able to show business opportunities that he missed. But you can also just look at the reputation. Look at it. Just add it to the mix. You take a public poll right now and ask, did Donald Trump cheat on his taxes? People will say yes. And then the reason for it is because the tax release that was leaked showed that President Trump didn't pay personal income taxes on a certain amount of his wealth for a certain number of years. His businesses did, of course, and that's how things work. And if you want to gain wealth in America based on the rules and laws that have been set up, you want to be a business owner.
Yes, you do.
Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. Go direct to owning businesses, multiple businesses. Then a lot of the income that you can live off of and live very well off of will be channeled to you through your businesses. The businesses end up paying those taxes. You don't. I mean, ultimately you do, because the business that you own is making money, and whatever money the business pays in taxes is money that you theoretically would have pocketed personally. But this is typical. This is what happens in business, because, again, I want to point out, no one has ever alleged that Donald Trump has broken the law. But if you ask the regular American citizen, they'll say, oh, yeah, he cheated on his taxes. No, he did not cheat. Yeah. He followed the law. Now, you may not like the laws. Donald Trump said this when he was running for president. He says, listen, I know all the laws, and they're all set up for people to be able to game the system. And you bet I game the system, because that's the system that's been set up. So this was meant to embarrass him. And the IRS needs to have protocols to keep this sort of thing from happening. And if a $10 billion lawsuit is the way to do it, then so be it.
Well, and it sends also a message to other IRS agents, staff, and contractors that you can't use your access to the most sensitive private financial information that people have, which the IRS has full access to. You can't use your access to that, willy-nilly, going after an ex-girlfriend, maybe a disgruntled, old friend or, former boss, and then thinking that you can, use their tax returns, in court cases against them. I mean, it's really important to send a very chilling message to these folks that you have a duty and a responsibility to be very careful about the information you have access to, and not just use it for political motives or personal motives or even personal gain.
Amen. Amen to that. And now it'll be interesting, because he's suing an agency that he has direct control over. And theoretically,
that part.
Well, yeah, I mean, theoretically, the people who run Scott Bessent is currently the IRS commissioner.
Yeah, he is.
As well
He's got
as
a couple
the
of
Secretary
jobs.
of the Treasury, yeah. He's vying for Rubio's crown. And so theoretically, the lawyers who will be deciding whether to fight this or settle this work basically for Donald Trump, the person who is suing. So, well, it's complicated. Let's see how it ends up. But you know what? There's a great way to avoid this sort of thing. Don't let people's personal income taxes be leaked.
Exactly.
If the IRS doesn't have protocols to protect that, then they should pay a penalty. And the more time they're spending on this, the less time they're spending bullying the rest of us. It's 6:23.
All right, coming up, we've got Tommy Schultz of the American Federation for Children. Stay with us. It's O'Connor and Company at 6:30.
WMAL FM, Woodbridge, Washington, a Cumulus media station. Making sense of the news. News Talk 105.9. WMAL. News now. Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app. O'Connor and Company.
6:37. Good morning. Thanks for tuning into O'Connor and Company. Busy morning here as we close out a snow-filled week, an icy week, but a consequential week in American politics, news, and culture. Coming up at 7:05, Dr. Kurt Michelli, Chief Medical Officer for Do No Harm. Why do we keep seeing nurses saying really crazy, radical, dangerous political things? We'll get into it. 7:35, Nathan Brinkman, Ed Reform, Virginia, talk about School Choice Week. 8:05, Brad Thor's got a new book. And then at 8:35, Steve Moore, our favorite economist out there, he'll be talking to us about who the president will pick as a Fed chair. We've already determined it will not be Patrice Onwuka. Good morning, Patrice. Thanks once again for recommitting to your responsibilities here and to independent women and to your children.
Yes, that would be a heavy burden on everybody. So,
speaking of your children, if you have plans to send them to school, college, private school, what have you, you've probably run the numbers. It ain't so easy. Tommy Schultz is the CEO of the American Federation for Children, and he's got something very cool to share with you, the AFC Scholarship Fund. Good morning, sir. Thanks for joining us.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
So first on this scholarship fund, is it just for higher education, or is this something that students can take advantage of and parents can take advantage of at all levels of education?
No, this is specifically for K through 12, and it's partly been created to help service and implement what we think is the biggest expansion of school choice in American history when President Trump signed into the One Big Beautiful Bill, the Working Families Tax Cut.
Yeah.
A little-known provision in there. It's a tax credit for donations to scholarship groups. So under the current laws in the IRS right now, you can make a donation to a 501c3 charity, and you would get a tax deduction for making that contribution. Now this new change to the law says that up to $1,700 of your contribution can be a dollar-for-dollar tax reduction. So basically, let's say you owed the federal government $2,000 in income taxes. If during the year 2027 you had donated $1,700 to a 501c3 charity that gives out scholarships, you can actually only owe the federal government just $300 in income taxes. So this dollar-for-dollar reduction is going to be able to help fuel billions of dollars in scholarships all across the country. And there's just a lot of geographies that do not have scholarships available in an independent fashion outside of the schools that you may go to. And we want to make sure that all 50 states can take advantage of this law. So we're super excited to start this scholarship organization to service this new federal tax credit.
I'm excited to hear about this. So there's an input angle and an output angle. So that's the input, and it's great. That's a great tax benefit to get a dollar-for-dollar tax benefit, because most charitable contributions, it's a percentage or a ratio of your adjusted gross income, or it reduces your adjusted gross income. So that's a direct tax credit. What about the output? What if I'm a parent and I want to be able to see if I qualify for one of these scholarships?
Yeah, basically, in the law, the qualifications say that, roughly speaking, just rather than going into the complicated formula, 90% of Americans are going to be eligible to take one of these scholarships. It's basically the first 90% of the incomes across the country. There will be formulas out there, and we'll be able to handle that pretty easily when parents apply to us, and we do an income verification once the law comes online, January 1, 2027. But the other kind of quirk of this law is that governors have to opt into this. So the governors must tell Treasury that the scholarship groups in their states actually are taking tax credit donations. Thankfully, at least for kind of the listeners in your neck of the woods, Virginia, Governor Youngkin did an early opt-in right before he went out the door, and we are on the list as one of the approved scholarship groups. There's others on the list, too. You can check out our website, afcscholarshipfund.org, and ultimately what this is going to mean, though, every governor, even the Democratic governors, are going to look at this and go, what this tax credit does is makes it so that local and national scholarship groups can operate within our state. If a governor doesn't opt in, think of this, Larry, basically donors in that state are still eligible to contribute, but their money will just have to go out of state. So let's say you're in California and the governor of California doesn't opt in. All it means is that Californians are going to be sending their money to Texas or to another red state, right? So at the end of the day, I think a lot of governors are going to say this is a no-brainer. Even Democratic Governor Jared Polis has already opted in. He's the first Democrat through the door on that one. So I think this is going to be the golden age of American education coming forward, because at the end of the day, billions of dollars are going to be raised from private donors into K-12 education to help fund scholarships for needy children.
Well, let's hope that, Governor Westmore in Maryland, where I am and my kids are going to school, will be listening to this. When it comes to how the money can be spent, so families apply for the scholarships, walk us through what educational expenses they can use the scholarship towards.
Sure. That's going to be up to the scholarship groups to determine, but the law outlines a pretty broad range of expenses from it can be for private school tuition, it can be for tutoring, it can be for other approved educational expenses under the Coverdell law, which again includes things like, special needs services and some educational tech. But our scholarship group, and I think most scholarship groups, are really going to be focusing on the core aspects and the core needs that, nearly all families are going to be seeking, which is going to be scholarships for tuition, probably tutoring. Homeschool stipends are going to be another kind of aspect that we hope Treasury addresses and clarifies. But homeschool students, the intent of the law was to make every single student eligible to receive scholarship funding. So big things afoot. Each scholarship group is going to have their own kind of particular policies about how they do things. But we want to help as many students as possible, particularly lower income, middle income families, because as you said in the preamble, that they're the ones that would love to go to private school. And many schools, many states have state-level scholarship programs, state-level school choice policies. But there's a lot of families that are still stuck in the middle in places where you maybe don't have a state either voucher or tax credit scholarship or education savings accounts program. This finally can bring that to every single state, where every family can finally get access to the school of their choice.
Great stuff, Tommy Schultz. Yeah. My gosh, this is great. Something that I didn't know about, and I dove deep on the big beautiful bill, but this skipped right by me, and it's something that everybody should learn about. So it's American Federation for Children. If you want details, I've just signed up to get more information on it because I'm about to be a grandfather. AFCScholarshipFund.org. It's AFCScholarshipFund.org. Tommy, keep us updated, especially on that homeschool component. We got to get that going. Thanks, Tommy.
Absolutely.
Thanks, Tommy.
Thanks for having me.
Never miss an episode of The Derek Hunter Show. If you do, we just might talk about you. 3 o'clock on WMAL.
All right, so we expect a new announcement today for a replacement for Jerome Powell as chairman of the Fed. One suspects it will be someone that is more in line with the president's approach to interest rates, since this has been a major complaint of his. You remember with Cut 5 here, President Trump's analysis of Jerome Powell's abilities as chairman of the Fed.
So we have a stupid person, frankly, at the Fed.
Yes, that was.
Oh, ouch.
He doesn't.
Not a vote of confidence.
No, he just sort of cuts right to it. I mean, how would you? Stupid. He's stupid. Absolutely. All right. So yesterday, while on the red carpet for the premiere of the Melania film at the TKC, President Trump. That's the Trump Kennedy Center, by the way, in case anyone's wondering. TKC. I'm trying to make that happen. It's my fetch. I'm trying to make fetch happen.
TKC?
Yeah. Do you think I can make TKC happen?
Well, I mean, listen, you just got to get everybody who we bring on air to say it. And
that's right. Well,
then it can pick
we could start with you, please.
TKC.
There it is.
Remind me what it is again. Just kidding.
The Trump Kennedy Center. TKC.
I'm kidding, yes.
He was
TKC,
on the red carpet for the premiere of the Melania film at the TKC yesterday, and he said this.
What day will you be announcing your Fed chair pick next week?
Tomorrow morning.
Tomorrow morning. And do you know who you pick?
Tomorrow I do. Otherwise, I'll have to go to work very quickly. No, I'll be announcing the Fed chair tomorrow morning.
All right. Now, the Wall Street Journal is predicting that it will be, are you ready? Are you ready? Kevin Warsh. Who?
Kevin Warsh was a pick the last time President Trump nominated a Federal Reserve chair. It was between him and Jerome Powell, and President Trump picked Jerome Powell, and we saw how that worked out. Kevin Warsh, though, is a critic of the Federal Reserve and has been a very strong critic of how Jerome Powell has operated. He was also much more of a free marketer, but he's since kind of embraced the Trump agenda of tariffs in addition to tax cuts and dereg. So, he's going to bring the best of both worlds, I think.
I've always believed it was going to be Kevin Hassett, the chief economic advisor to the president. He's one of the few people who made it from Trump 1.0 to Trump 2.0. He's got a great media presence. He's a great cheerleader for this economy and has been a critic of Jerome Powell. Also, he has the distinction of throwing me to the ground in a martial arts move once at a CPAC event. Yeah. Apparently, he's a big I can't remember if it's karate or judo or something, but he's like
really?
Oh, yeah. He's like a triple black belt or purple belt. I don't know what the belt is, but he mentioned it, and I was joking. I started laughing. I said, okay, Mr. Hassett. He goes, oh, no, seriously. And I can't remember if it was Mercedes Schlapp or something. He said, Larry, put down your drink. Let Kevin show you. And so I go, and the next thing I know, I'm on my back on the floor.
Do we have video of this that we can post?
No, thank God there is no video of it. It's one thing that's happened in my life without video, thank God. So that's why I wanted Kevin Hassett to get it, just so I can say, oh, yeah, the Fed chair, he threw me to the ground in a martial arts move once. But anyway, all speculation is that it was Kevin Warsh. Also, Kevin Warsh has had really, really positive things to say about Bitcoin. Generally speaking, the chair of the Fed and the people on the governors of the Fed are really skeptical of Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies because their focus is the dollar and U.S. currencies and more traditional currencies. He's been really open to crypto, and there's a lot of crypto interest in this administration.
Including a federal bill being considered right now, yes.
Yes. So that might be a missing element here. Poly markets overnight have been just exploding for Kevin Warsh. So, but this is Donald Trump we're talking about. This could absolutely be a head fake, and who knows what it might be. We're going to speak with Steve Moore, economist extraordinaire, and he knows this president very well. We'll find out from him at 8:35. By the way, by 8:35, we may know who it is, so we'll keep an eye on that. Right now, it's 6:52.